The first time Dr. Amelia Torres glimpsed the Atlantic from the ramparts of the old Portuguese fort at El Jadida, the sea looked ordinary, gray, wind-chopped, smelling of salt and motor oil. But she knew buried beneath those waves, between the seamounts and the coastal reefs of Morocco, lay something extraordinary. The legendary city of Ithar, swallowed by an earthquake 2,000 years ago, and mentioned only in a handful of Phoenician tablets and one dubious Carthaginian map. Finding it would be the jewel of any marine archaeologist's career. It would also be the key to the tenure position she had been chasing for 6 grinding years. Less than 24 hours after making landfall, Amelia's tenure dossier clanked in her luggage, full of grant letters and sonar maps. What she lacked was a diver who knew the currents and the hidden reefs where fishing nets tore like tissue. For that, she went on the recommendation of an old anthropologist friend to the windswept village of Sidi Ghanem, and there she met Rafik El Haddad, pearl diver, sometime fisherman, rumored smuggler, and a man wrapped in superstitions older than the Roman ruins scattered along the coast. They met in the courtyard of a whitewashed cafe, its walls blossoming with bougainvillea. Rafik, lean and sun-scarred, leaned back in his chair like someone who distrusts furniture provided by foreigners. "I've heard of your hunt, doctor," he said, switching to English after greeting her in Arabic and French and gauging which language sat easiest on her tongue. "The Sunken City is a story old men used to charm tips from tourists." Amelia laid a waterproof folder on the table. Inside was an image, a multi-beam sonar scan showing geometric structures beneath 80 meters of water. Pillars, thresholds, courtyards. He studied it briefly, then pushed it back. "Stone breaks into shapes that fool the eye," he said. "Not pillars with the same diameter and spacing across 60 meters, she countered. "Look, Captain El Haddad." "I'm no captain," he cut in, shrugging. "Just a man with good lungs and a boat that leaks, and a family who needs me alive." The cafe owner brought mint tea. Steam coiled between them. Amelia decided on honesty. The professorial veil of objectivity was useless here. "A salvage company out of Gibraltar is assembling a crew," she said. "If they reach the site first, they'll dynamite the seabed and sell half of Aethar on the antiquities market. I want to study it, document it, protect it. I need someone who knows these waters." Rafik stared at the horizon where gulls wheeled above anchored trawlers. "My grandfather dove those reefs," he said quietly, "taught me the signs. The bobu that sings at dusk, the pattern of waves before an undertow. He also taught me never to trespass on the city of the drowned queen. He said it is guarded." "Guarded by what?" Rafik's gaze drifted back to hers. "By oaths." Amelia almost laughed, but caught herself. "Whatever guards it, the city is still there. I'll find it with or without you." "You might," he said, "but without a local boat, you'll have the Royal Gendarmerie on your neck inside a day. They don't like outsiders poking around protected waters." Amelia weighed the options: the ticking clock of the Gibraltar outfit, the bureaucratic quagmire of Moroccan permits, the slender margin on her university's grant. She took a breath. "What will convince you?" she asked. Rafik traced a finger across the damp glass of his tea. "Half your grant money up front," he said at last. "And you keep my family's name out of any report. Whatever we find, we leave some of it where it lies. No blasting, no greedy hands." She hesitated. "Deal." They shook. His fingers were rough as pumice. That evening, they walked the harbor and inspected his 30-foot dhow, Sana. Its timber ribs were patched with fiberglass, and prayer beads dangled from the helm. Amelia's gear, ROV drones, hydrophones, sealed cases of scuba regulators, looked incongruous against the weathered deck. "My equipment is delicate," she said. "My boat is faithful," he replied, patting the rail. "Treat her with respect, and she'll carry you where maps end." A gull shrieked. Amelia felt a small thrill coil through her ribs. Where maps end, careers begin, she thought. The first dive was scheduled for dawn. They motored out beneath a curve of bronze sunlight. Rafik's cousin Imane handled the wheel while Rafik and Emilia suited up. The Moroccan coast receded, chalk cliffs turning hazy. The swells grew heavier. Rafik checked her harness. Remember, he said, currents down there spin like gin in a wine jar. Follow my line. If you see lionfish, keep distance the nest in crevices of the ruins. You've been there, she said. He didn't answer. They flipped backward into green silence. Amelia's heartbeat filled her ears. They descended. Sunlight dappled the upper layers, then thinned. 80 meters was deep enough to test a diver's nerve. Her torch stabbed ahead, revealing pillars draped in coral, shattered archways, a mosaic floor half hidden beneath sand. She sucked a breath of compressed air, sharp with the taste of steel. Rafik touched her arm, signaling. He pointed toward a black mouth in the seafloor, an entrance to what might have been a temple. In its lintel was carved a symbol, 3 crescents interlocked, the emblem recorded on a Phoenician shard she'd studied at the National Museum in Rabat. Her mind raced. Proof. She filmed the carving, heart hammering. Rafik motioned again, time to ascend. He turned, fins fluttering. Emilia cast one last look at the temple and followed. On deck, she whooped into the wind. It's real! Orthogonal walls, cut stone dragged from miles away. Tell me that's not a city. Rafik peeled off his wetsuit hood. Beneath the salt, his face was unreadable. We saw only outer courts, he said. The heart of it lies deeper, where light never falls. We'll go after decompression. She was already tugging a towel through her hair. He shrugged. We go when the sea allows and the omens are fair. The currents grow wicked near the new moon. Amelia exhaled impatience. Superstitions again. Yet she sensed arguing would close doors she could not reopen. That night, while coiling lines below deck, she asked, "Why did you really come if you think the place is cursed?" Rafik didn't look up. Because Sana needs a new diesel pump, and my sister's wedding is next month. Because maybe the old stories need a new chapter. And because, he added, glancing at her, I wanted to see if the drowned queen still sings. Emilia laughed softly. Academic consensus on singing queens is thin. Academic consensus keeps you safe in lecture halls, he said. Down there other rules apply. Rain battered the harbor that evening. They sheltered in the cramped galley, sharing tagine and stories. Emilia recounted her childhood in Cadiz, listening to her grandmother's tales of Phoenician traders. Rafik described learning to dive before he could swim, clutching his grandfather's back as the old man plucked oysters from seabed ledges. Pearls are moons trapped in shells, he said, swirling tea leaves with a fingertip. You free them, but they never forget the dark that made them. Emilia felt the careful walls of her professional detachment crumble a little. 2 days later, the weather cleared. A Moroccan Coast Guard cutter prowled the horizon. Word of unusual activity had spread. They anchored out of patrol range and launched before sunrise. Rafik carried a cloth pouch inside his wetsuit. Amelia noticed, but did not ask. They descended again, this time threading through collapsed colonnades into the temple mouth. Silt puffed beneath their fins, veiling hieroglyphs on basalt blocks. Inside, they found a hall whose ceiling had collapsed, forming shafts of broken daylight. At its center stood a plinth. On it rested a bronze sphere, algae-coated but unmistakably wrought. Amelia's hand shook as she filmed. Rafik raised 2 fingers. Danger. But she drifted closer, brushing away growth to expose the sphere's etchings. Star charts, maybe, or ritual diagrams. A current tugged at her. Sand whirled, and with it rose faint notes like distant chimes. She turned to see Rafik clutching the pouch at his chest, eyes wide. The sound swelled inside her regulator like whale song run through crystal. Then the hall shuddered. A rumble traveled the walls. Rafik seized her wrist, yanking her back. From the ceiling, a slab fractured, shooting a plume of silt. They kicked hard, escaping the hall as rubble crashed behind them. Outside, breathing heavily, they ascended, releasing safety stops in ragged intervals. On deck, Amelia coughed seawater and adrenaline. You tried to steal from her, Rafik said, voice low. I didn't touch it, she protested. I only scraped algae. It was enough. He tore the pouch from his neck and opened it. Inside lay a single milky pearl the size of a swallow's egg. This belongs to the city too. My grandfather told me never to carry it below again. I should have listened. Amelia studied the pearl, mesmerized by its inner swirl of pale light. It's remarkable. It's a warning, he said, cinching the pouch shut. The sphere, the singing, you heard them. She nodded reluctantly. Back in port, tension thickened between them. Amelia spent hours cataloging video, sending encrypted files to her university. That evening, she received an email from Dr. Samuel Quaid, her rival, the man helming the Gibraltar outfit. The subject line, "Congratulations on your find. Would love to discuss potential collaboration." Rafik appeared in the doorway, reading her expression. Bad news? Quade somehow got our dive coordinates, she said. He'll arrive tomorrow with a submersible. If he dynamites the site, we'll lose everything, and the temple will collapse. Rafik's jaw tightened. Someone in the harbor sold him the data. Can you stop him? Not with polite words. Amelia paced. We need proof, something undeniable, to force the Ministry of Culture to declare the area a protected heritage zone, something we can extract without triggering collapse. Rafik looked at the pearl. Silence stretched. There is a chamber beneath the plaza, he said finally. It houses a tablet. My grandfather called it the Chronicle. It tells how the city fell into the sea. It's carved from orichalcum, a metal that gleams even in darkness. The ministry could not ignore that. How do you know? Because my ancestors were guardians of that chamber, he said. We vowed never to disturb it, but maybe guarding means choosing the lesser danger. Amelia's heart pounded. We go tonight. Moonlight gilded Sanaa as they slipped from the harbor, engine murmuring. A storm brewed westward. Thunder flickered on the horizon like distant artillery. At midnight, they reached the coordinates. Amelia donned a new tank. Rafik produced 2 old copper lamps sealed inside glass housings. My grandfather's, he explained. Their flame guides us. Flame underwater? He grinned. Phosphorescent algae inside. Shake them, they glow. They submerged. The sea was black oil around them. Rafik's lamps pulsed emerald. They passed through the temple hall, now cracked, wider. Beyond lay a sloping tunnel, its walls smoothed by centuries of current. At its end opened a cavernous rotunda. When Rafik shook the lamp, light erupted across carvings. Figures fleeing waves, priests raising orbs to the sky, a queen crowned with coral. In the center stood a stone dais. Resting atop was a rectangular slab of red gold metal etched densely with script. Amelia's breath caught. The Chronicle. As she floated closer, tremors rippled through the rotunda. She glanced up, water clouded with silt. Quaid. The salvage team was above, dropping charges. Rafik unclipped a folding stretcher. They slid the tablet carefully onto it, securing cords. Another rumble. Cracks snaked along the ceiling. They kicked upward, hauling the heavy slab. The tunnel funneled debris against them. A boulder sheared off, striking Rafik's shoulder. He reeled. Amelia grabbed his harness, towing him forward. Pain contorted his features, but he swam. They burst from the temple mouth just as the plaza roof imploded. Dusting of stone engulfed them. Adrenaline screamed in Amelia's veins. They struggled toward the ascent line, anchored earlier. A silhouette loomed above, a steel-hulled vessel, lights glaring. Quaid's submersible propellers churned. Shock waves rattled Amelia's mask. She and Rafik clipped the tablet to the lift bag, inflated it. The slab shot upward. Quade's crew would seize it if they surfaced beside them. Rafik pointed to an underwater ravine eastward. They followed, hugging shadows. Air dwindled. Finally, they breached 50 meters beyond Sana'a, where Imane had repositioned under dark. They hauled themselves aboard, muscles trembling. On Sana's deck lay the Chronicle, its metal glowing faintly, but Quade's vessel roared nearer. Floodlights bounced across waves. "Hide the tablet in the hold," Amelia said. "I'll distract them." Rafik caught her arm. "He'll smell the lie." "Then let him," she replied, grabbing a flare gun. Minutes later, Quade's speedboat pulled abreast. The man towered at its bow, blonde hair plastered by spray. "Evening, Dr. Torres," he called. "Out for a pleasure cruise." Amelia lifted the flare steady. "Your charges nearly killed us." "Accidents happen in unexplored waters." His gaze swept Sana's deck, pausing on coils of unused rope. "Find anything?" "Only fish." She fired the flare high. It burst into crimson shards. The speedboat captain flinched. Quade glared. "Keep playing games," he said, "and someone will drown." The boat veered away, back toward his larger vessel, thrumming in the dark. Rafik emerged from below. "He'll return with the Coast Guard." "Then we present the Chronicle first," Amelia said. "At dawn." They raced toward El Jadida. Lightning stalked them, but Sana flew over swells as if buoyed by ancient favor. They tied up at the government pier just as pale light rimmed the sea. Officials summoned by Amelia's frantic satellite call arrived. A representative from the Ministry of Culture, 2 stone-faced gendarmes, and an antiquities conservator. When the officials saw the orichalcum tablet, their skepticism melted. The script matched no known alphabet, yet shared pictographs with Punic dialects. The conservator gasped at the alloy's purity. Phones clicked, papers were signed. An emergency decree declared the site a protected maritime heritage zone. All salvage permits were suspended. Quade docked moments later, roaring indignation, but gendarmes blocked his path. Amelia watched, satisfaction and exhaustion mingling. Later, in the quiet of the marina, she and Rafik sat on Sana's bow. He cradled his injured shoulder. She bound it with gauze. "You broke an oath to save the city," she said. "Perhaps I fulfilled it," he replied. "Iathar will be studied, not plundered. My ancestors wanted its story remembered, not its bones sold." She smiled. "The Chronicle will need translators. I know a half-dozen experts who would beg for the chance." "And you?" "My semester starts in 3 weeks," she said, hesitating. "But the ministry asked me to help map the site. They'll fund a local facility. I could commute." She laughed at the absurdity. "Spend to Morocco by ferry, back and forth." Rafik's gaze was steady. "Or you could stay longer. Teach the children of Sidi Ghanem to swim and speak of lost cities." A gull cried overhead. Amelia felt the pull of her old life, Agalti meetings, grant deadlines like distant radio static. But on this deck, the air tasted of salt and new beginnings. "My grandmother used to say," she began, "that every explorer eventually discovers not places but people." "And what have you discovered?" he asked. She brushed a curl of wet hair from his forehead. "A man who listens to seashells and keeps promises. A city that sings. And perhaps," she added softly, "a home." He reached into the pouch at his neck, withdrew the moonlit pearl, and pressed it into her palm. "A gift from the drowned queen," he said. "May it remind you of the dark that shapes the light." Amelia closed her fingers around the pearl, feeling its cool glow. Then she leaned forward, tasting the sea on his lips. Waves lapped the hull, the wind unfurled, the call to prayer across the rooftops, and the legendary city slept beneath rising daylight, no longer alone in its silence. Above it 2 hearts beat, learning that some treasures lie not in the depths we plunder, but in the depths we share.